Okay, I hope you all will listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. First, I'll start out by pointing out that if you've come to these board meetings, you've known that in spite of having people read statements criticizing my actions or calling me things and saying I'm doing things the wrong way, I've consistently defended this board and the members of this board because I've tried to maintain a level of camaraderie and respect for my fellow board members. But I've reached the point where I feel like I need to say some things because I feel the community needs to be aware of some things that have transpired. Regardless of how you feel about all the choices we've made, including the gentleman who thinks that we were not transparent about the changes made to the high school construction plan, I think anybody who has actually been to these meetings and listened to what we've said will know that I've always valued transparency. People have commented when I was board chairman that we were a very open and transparent board. When Eric Stones was the board president, we were a very open and transparent board. And part of transparency is owning our mistakes. And one thing I want to say I was wrong about was about 18 months ago when COVID happened. I anticipated that it was going to be destructive to our economy, that unemployment would be crazy, and that our budgets would be shot. And as part of that, I said that we should do a 20% reduction in staff pay across the board to be prepared for the anticipated budget shortfall. I was wrong. We were never short of money. We got more money than we thought we ever would. So I was wrong on that, and I apologize for causing people consternation by that comment. I did not see the future clearly. If I had seen the future clearly, I would have bought a lot of GameStop stock, and I wouldn't be here right now. But
Okay, wonderful. The other thing I want to say, and I know that this will be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway, is I have a bit of a problem, not a bit, I have a real problem with the fact that we've got millions of people in this country that are losing their job. We have probably millions of business owners that have had to shut their doors and don't know how they're going to pay their rent or meet their obligations. We're in a financial calamity, the likes of which nobody quite understands yet and is not defined. And I find it to be troublesome, and I say this as somebody whose wife is a teacher, that our entire staff continues to be paid and employed at the same level they were when things were going normally. I think that I find it a bit, I guess, morally repugnant that the public sector seems to be insulated from the pain that is being put on the private sector in an event like this where everybody's suffering out there in the private sector. And so I know there's nothing that I can do about it at the moment, and I know that this is not something that this isn't something I say lightly or expect us to take action on at the moment. But in light of the situation and the circumstances and the suffering that is going on in our community, in our state, and our country, as well as the forthcoming cuts to expenditures and budgets that will have to happen as a result of what's going on right now in the next couple of fiscal years, I think we should consider doing a reduction in pay across the board for all of our staff. My suggestion would be maybe 20%. So in other words, 1 day of pay a week, maybe. And I know that people are not putting in the same hours that they were before. Yes, we're teaching online. Yes, we're providing meals and doing some things, but it is fundamentally not the same situation as when we have 8,600 kids inside our buildings all day long. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I know how people are suffering out here in the private sector, and I think it's only fair that our public sector also give a little bit to kind of do their part to help. So that's just my comment, and I'll leave it at that unless anybody wants to say something about that as well.
But there are two things a couple things I think that you should know about. One, I was board president until August of last year, and there's a reason why I stepped down. At the time, I said I was tired and it was time to get somebody else in there, but that was because I was also that was part of it. But the real issue was that as a board president, I had been unable to get my requests for information or meetings with the district and our staff went unanswered. I felt completely uninformed. I was very unimpressed with our lack of a plan for reopening. And frankly, the only reason we had a plan to reopen last year was because I dictated that we had to have one. It was very disappointing to me. And so finally, because I was unable to get the information or the input that I needed, I stepped down to let somebody else have a chance to do that. The final straw for me was last year when, at the last minute before our schools were to reopen, our school board, at the recommendation of the administration, decided not to open our high school for in-person instruction. That was a tragic, tragic error. As we heard so clearly later, our children needed to be in school. They needed in-person instruction. They need that human connection. We had professional therapists and counselors come and tell us about the damage that that lack of interaction was having. And it broke my heart. And that was the point where I couldn't continue having my name as board president if those were the kind of actions that we were going to take. And I'm still sad about that. That was 6 weeks of lost opportunity for those kids. Last year was incredibly hard, and I'm proud of all the work that was done, but that makes me sad. Since then, I think that our transparency as a district has been terrible. I think that that's a pretty common feeling. A lot of you are wondering, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What's actually going on? And there are 2 examples where I want you to know that I'm not okay with our level of transparency. The first was, a lot of you are here and have been coming because of the CRT issue. Well, the CRT issue became an issue for our board when our board tried to pass a transgender student rights policy without comment or discussion. It was put on the agenda for the June 10th meeting without anybody pointing it out, without a plan to discuss it. And if anybody wants to FOIA my emails, you're all welcome to see anything that I have in here. And you'll see that the only reason we didn't was because Bryce McPartland had the wisdom to look at the agenda beforehand and point out to me the problematic nature of that policy. The things that it asked us to do were not okay. And we were told that we had to do it. The state mandated it. We didn't have a choice and that it was a good thing. Well, luckily we pushed back and we said no. We said we can do better. And I would like to point out that it's Vicki Melcher and Susan Freeman, as our board president and vice president, that set the agenda and that approved that being on there without notifying the board or the community or asking for their input. The second issue that I'd like to point out is recently I was made aware of some things that were going on in our district that I was concerned about of a financial nature. Being concerned about these, I believe that my job as a board member is to oversee public funds and ensure that those public funds are spent for the benefit of our children. So, hearing these things, I then proceeded to send an email to our staff asking for information on these items, which I thought was pretty, what I should be doing as your representative. I'd like to read you the response I received. This is from our lawyer, the lawyer we paid $600,000 to last year. Dear Mr. Goodrich, Vicki Melcher and Susan Freeman, school board president and vice president, have asked that I correspond with you due to a concern that you may be overstepping your authority as an individual school board member. It has come to their attention that you have requested school district staff to investigate and provide specific information regarding, and I won't say this because that will be redacted if anybody FOIAs this, but financial information. The school board has not taken any collective action directing or authorizing you to pursue this matter. As you know, the authority as a school board member exists only to the extent that they are operating as a unified body. Individual board members have no authority to act on behalf of the district or to direct school staff. So at their request, I was not provided that information. I was not able to do my job to protect public funds, and I'm absolutely disgusted by it. I'm embarrassed by it. So, as I said, Vicki and Susan have both done a lot of good things, and but I needed to make this known because I cannot be okay with the community not knowing what they should know. This is your money. This is $130+ million of your money that we're going to spend this year, and you should have a right to know what's being done with it. So, thank you. I'm not done. Actually, one other thing. One person tonight chose to make some comments about Dr. Meyer, and I'd like to go on the record as saying that I appreciate the work that Dr. Meyer's done, and she has my support, and that she's done what we have asked her to do, and we've asked her to do some hard things. And is Dr. Meyer perfect? No, but at this moment in time, I would like to be on the record as saying that I support her in her job that we are asking her to do.
Okay, Elliott, thank you for bringing all of that out. And one of the feelings and emotions that you said that you had was disgusted, and how you are disgusted with how Susan and I have been handling these things, mainly me. And I have to tell you, I understand that because I have some of the same feelings too. I've been disgusted also, and my disgust has been with what I have found to be a rogue board member, and I even looked it up. I even looked it up to see if there really was such a thing as a rogue board member, and there is. And actually, it even gives a definition of it, and it says that rogues are those members who frequently operate beyond any legal authority, using implied authority to bully, intimidate school administration, staff, and public. It is not uncommon for rogues to push personal agenda that is sympathetic to special interest groups with whom they may have ties officially or unofficially. I'm just saying. The rogue is a member who often refuses to support majority decisions of the board, who works both openly and subversively to disrupt and undermine board authority when it conflicts with his or her own interest. Rogues may be micromanagers interfering in the day-to-day operations of school cooperation, but not necessarily. In spite of overinflated opinions of their abilities and contributions to school governance, rogues may be convincing, and while they truly have no allies, they are not above seeking temporary allegiance that will further personal agendas. Now, you had your opinion and I had my opinion, but you know what I'd like to do? I think that maybe you and I should sit down and talk with a mediator and see if we can maybe work out some of these things.
Where did you get that, Vicki?
It was online.
What website?
I don't know. It says it's American Association of School Administrators.
I'd like to point out that any of you are free to go to the American Association of School Administrators and see if they represent what you want. The other thing I'd like to point out is after we had a special meeting, I forgot this, after we had a special meeting the other day to discuss some personnel issues, I was then told I needed to stay to be talked to. And 3 of the board members sat me down and told me that I was only pursuing this because I was psychologically unstable, because I was afraid of losing my authority by no longer being on the board in November. Let me tell you something. I am so excited to not be on the board any longer. I've tried to do my job representing you, and I've tried to treat these things the way I would want them treated if they were my own, and I have not been successful in every way. And I apologize if I've made mistakes, but I've tried hard, and I have no interest in maintaining any control. All I have an interest in is that we do the right thing. So. And to your request, Vicki, if you'd like to sit down with a mediator, that's fine. That's fine with me.